Hi, Daniel741852 here. Today we're going to be going over the marbleBlastToolkit in more depth. So as you can see, I still have the platform I made in the last video here. It's just chilling. So we briefly went over the interiors folder from the installation video and the shapes folder as well. We never went over geometry nodes, skies, templates, and triggers. So let's just shotgun those real quick. So skies, there's MBG default, MBP advanced, so on and so forth. And these are basically just the skyboxes from each corresponding game. So if we click MBG default and we drag and drop it into the world, you might notice nothing changed. In order to see the actual skybox in the top right corner, let's go ahead and go to display render preview. And this is how you see the skybox from the game you just drag and dropped from. Now, I personally never use this just because it is a bit distracting and it does kind of hurt my eyes. But if you want to see how a level might look like with a specific skybox, then this might just help with that. Alright, let's go ahead and go back to material preview mode. And let's go to templates. We have 4 existing shapes here. More specifically, faces to platforms of trim, mesh edges to beam, mesh edges to path with trim, and triplanar mapping. So let's go ahead and take a look at triplanar mapping. And as you can see, it does look a little different, and that's because I was messing with it earlier. Let's go ahead and just delete that. I'm going to go ahead and change this drop down to append. And that should give us a new, new triplanar mapping cube. So let's right click this. Let's hover over to snap, and then select selection to grid, just so it's locked on the grid. Okay. And as you can see, we have our basic textures from MBU, but that's not what we want. Let's go ahead and spruce this up real quick, shall we? Let's go to Marble Blast Gold, and let's just change the top tile to Grid Cool. So in the materials list, hover over Tile Beginner while you have Grid Cool selected. This should change it automatically. We can change Plate 1 to Wall Cool 1 as well. And then for tile underside, let's just do Wall Cool 1 again, since that's how it's probably going to be in a project revolving around Marble Blast Gold. There is one for edge white. Let's just go ahead and put that as edge underscore white 2. And there you go. This is basically, it's literally just a cube that you can just drag and drop if you don't want to make anything complicated. And similar to the last video, if you just select the face and drag it, you can just extend the cube out some more, and you can just pretty much mold this however you would like. Now, there is one thing worth mentioning, is that while I was doing that, I didn't have correct face attributes on at all. And that's because the triplanar mapping template we drag and dropped is smart enough to correct its own UVs without that option. But I still highly recommend keeping this on no matter what, just because it makes working with projects much less of a hassle. Okay, so now that we've gotten that covered, let's go ahead and move on to the next template. We can just leave this alone now. And let's go ahead and take a look at faces to platform with trim. So let's drag and drop this in here. And as you can see, it's just yet another MBU texture. Let's go ahead and let's try something different this time. Let's go to gold. And let's do grid neutral 3. So we're gonna drag and drop it into material list. And you might notice there's no trim texture. We already have a trim texture loaded in file, but there will be cases where you might not. So I'm gonna show you how to cover that real quick. So we just press the plus icon, drag and drop edge white 2 into this empty material we just made, and there we go. We now have a trim texture load in our Blender project. So we've already taken a look at the object tab, which is basically just transforms. Ooh, I just noticed we're not working with the grid. Look at all those decimals. Let's right click this, snap, and then selection to grid. That's much better. So, like I just demonstrated, object is mostly about transforms, like the location, the rotation, etc., the scale. We've already worked with material for a little bit now. It's basically just texturing. We're going to take a look at modifiers. So as you can see, you can ignore what these two mean. We're going to be focusing underneath materials, which is the under tile material and the trim material. So we've already established our trim material in the material list, which is edge white 2.003. So we're going to select that. And there we go. It's loaded in memory. It's worth mentioning, you might notice there's quite a bit of duplicates, like edge white 2, and then there's 001, 2, 3, etc. You can select any one of these, and they'll load in game just fine. It won't cause any issues. It'll probably just be quite a bit to keep up with in your project, but we'll go over on how to clean up your project another time. So now that we've gotten that selected, there is another material slot called under tile material. And similar to what we did for edge white, if you want an under tile material, you can just simply click the plus icon and then just drag whatever material you would like to be the under tile. So let's just say pattern neutral 3. We go to under tile material, pattern neutral 3, and there we have it. So this looks quite similar to the platform we made in the last video. However, if we select this object, you'll know it's selected and you see orange surrounding it, and then you press tab, you'll see there's only one face. And you know this is true because if you go to vertices, there's only 4 vertices on here. Now, why is this happening? Well, I'll show you why. Let's go ahead and go to edge mode. And if we grab this, hold control, you'll see it's just generating platforms on the fly like that. And let's go ahead and make some edge loops. So let's grab an edge, press control, or hold control and press R. Let's use the scroll wheel to do this about that many times. That's 5 loops. Click once, and then click again just to lock those edges in place. Let's just put it on the yellow lines just to make things even. And there we go. So now we have more edges to work with. And what this means is, if we click one of these edges, press E, and let's lock it on the X-axis by pressing X. Hold control to work with the grid. We can now make even more platforms on the fly as such. And this tool is really useful if you don't want to waste too much time making basic platforms. And this, of course, works diagonally as well. Let's go ahead and press E to extrude. Let's lock it onto Y this time and press Control. 1, 2, 3 tiles. I think that's pretty good. And let's press E again. Let's go to Y. Hold Control. 1, 2 tiles. Oh. So I went a little too far, but no worries. If we just press G again, and then Y, hold Control and go backwards once with the mouse, we can easily resolve that. So let's go ahead and click this face, and then press G. And let's go into orthographic view. So let's just press this X button here. Now let's press G. And then to press Z to lock into Z axis. Hold Control. And let's stop at the second grid. There we go. And there you go. It's just that easy to make platforms with the faces to platforms with trim template. And of course, you can just keep doing this as much and as far as you want. And I would recommend playing around with that template the most, just because of how flexible it is. There is one thing worth noting, and you can see it right there. You might get weird shapes like these if you do a sharp turn right after extruding from a sharp incline. As of the making of this video, there is really no way around that regarding this template. If it was a mesh from scratch, like this platform we made from the beginning, you could easily avoid it. But with this template, you will get strange artifacts like that if you do a sharp turn from any kind of incline. So the easiest way to avoid that is just to press Control. Actually, you know what? Let's grab this edge right here. G, Y, press Control. Let's add one more tile. Let's grab this edge right here. Control R. Click once. Hold Control to move this loop to the left, right. Okay. Let's go to the orthographic view. So let's press Z here, just so we can look from the top view. And then let's lock it to the Y-axis. That's good. And if we do that, there we go. Now there's not that strange curve we were seeing from the edge earlier. And there you have it. That's some basis to platforms of trim in a nutshell. You can of course do so much more with this, and I implore you mess around with it, just because there's even some things that I'm sure you can do that I don't know myself. But that aside, let's go ahead and move on to the next one, which is mesh edges to path of trim. So let's grab that, drag it in our scene. And right now, I think there's no texture on it. Yep, there's no texture at the current moment. So let's go ahead and let's go to modifiers. And let's just assign the tile materials here. So let's do grid pool 3. And then for the trim, we already have edge white loaded, so let's just use edge white. And then for the under tile, let's just do grid pool again. It doesn't really matter that much. And it looks rather similar to like this. Well, let's click this platform again, and you'll tell it's selected with the orange highlight around it. And if we press tab to go into edit mode, it's only one line this time. No face, no nothing, just a line. So for this, I recommend going into vertex selection mode. And we can basically select the vertices of each end here. And you might know where this is going, but if we select the end here, press G, and let's lock it onto the X-axis. Hold Control, and we can just extend it like this. However, the biggest difference here is that let's go into orthographic view just to make this easier to demonstrate. If we press E to extrude, and let's lock this on the Y-axis, and we move along the grid here, you'll see it does automatic curves. So let's stop at 10 there. Let's do another one. Let's work by the X-axis this time. Let's stop until we hit -10, which you can see in the top right corner. Another extrude. Let's do it by the Y-axis. Hold Control. -10. And then let's do another extrude by the X-axis. -10 once again. And you can just make curves that easily. This is by far my favorite tool to use with this program, as it makes making curves far less of a hassle than it needs to be. You can of course do this diagonally as well. So if we go into orthographic view again, press E, and then let's just go ahead and let's do it by -525, so do that. Now let's do another extrude. Press E. Let's work on x-axis. -10. There you go. You can do quite a bit with this tool, and it just makes making curves so much easier. And you can of course change the tile width as well, as seen in this modifiers tab we're in right now. So it's currently set to 1. We can change it to 2, to 3, so on and so forth. There is one thing to take into consideration, and it's that if the corner turns are too sharp, like you see here, I did kind of rush it, it does start to look a little scrunched, so try not to do any turns that are too sharp if possible. So we're going to put this back to 1. And there's more options here, like fillet radius. Honestly, I wouldn't really pay attention to these 3 that much. You're mostly going to be using tile width. And there you have it. That's some mesh edges to path with trim. It's essentially just, think of it as moving a snake. You can just curve and, like, you know, bend it around like you like, or as you like. Alright, so we've covered triplanar mapping, faces to platform of trim, and mesh edges to path of trim. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and take a look at mesh edges to beam here. So let's go ahead and drag and drop this. And as you can see, it's just a simple beam from marbleBlast Ultra. That's really all it is, to be honest. So if we go into edit mode by hitting tab, where is it? Oh, there it is. You'll see there's 2 vertices. Let's go ahead and turn X-ray mode on. There we go. So we toggled X-ray mode, and we can now see lines through meshes. And if we select this top vertex and move it around, you'll see it does move around as well. The purpose of this basically is it's similar to mesh edges to path of trim. You just press E, we'll select it to the y-axis, and you can just make beams from marbleBlast Ultra, basically. That's all that's really for, to be honest. And there you have it. That was all the 4 templates, ranging from bases to platforms with trim, mesh edges to beam, mesh edges to path with trim, and triplanar mapping. Alright, thank you for watching. In the next video, we'll go more over on shapes from each corresponding game, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.